Welcome, welcome, welcome everyone to another power-packed, amazing segment of the Black Girl Encourage Her. I am your hostess, Shaniqua Inspires, and I am really, really excited about this episode. Now, I know you all say, Shaniqua, you always excited each and every time, but I get excited when I get to bring and introduce someone new to you all. So I'm not going to sit here and try to hype her up because you already know she fire, right? Because that's all I'll be bringing on here. But I want to welcome to the stage one of my very, very new friends, Nicole Hawkins. Hey, girl. Hey.
Hi, how are you?
Listen, you look absolutely amazing
Thank you.
today. How's
Thank you.
everything going in your world? You good today?
I'm good today. Life is lifing and we move on. We
Yes,
through it.
ma'am.
So we are here together and we're going to spread this love.
Amen. I love that. All right. So listen, I got the opportunity to meet you in person, right? So she's not just one of my Facebook friends. She's actually someone I've actually met in person, right? Because you got to differentiate in
You
these
too.
days. Like, okay, that's my Facebook friend. And this is my real people that I actually physically met.
Yes.
But everybody can still get the love, and the love can still be very, very much real. But
Right.
Nicole, please introduce yourself to the audience. Tell us who Miss Nicole Y. Hawkins is.
Okay, so if you talk about titles, I guess I am a
Mhm.
life transformation and caregivers reset strategist. What I I guess I got into this as far as the caregiving part of things was I've been a caregiver for this is like my third time being a caregiver for a family member. So I've been doing this for a total of about 20 years. It started,
Wow.
of course, with my grandmother when she was going through her things, and then our daughter. Me and my husband have two daughters, so it then went to her because she had this thing called ITP, which is a very very long title, but it's basically a blood clotting issue. They say usually between people you have between 150 to 400,000 or 350,000 platelets in their body, and she had
Mhm.
literally 1,000, which means
Wow.
that if I had been in an accident with her or anything like that, her blood would not clot. So that meant that she could potentially bleed out.
Yeah. Mhm.
With that is usually an underlining something going on. So a couple of years ago, actually, when my husband was going through his cancer, we found out at the same time that she had lupus. So she was going through that. But she had been going through that since like ninth grade. And of course, now she's 22. So she's still going through her lupus stage, but it's a lot better than where she was before. But it the biggest one, the eye-opening part of me came when my husband was diagnosed with cancer. And I'll never forget, it was March the 20th. It was on a Friday. And it was literally in the beginning of COVID. So while he was
Mhm.
going through his treatments and things like that, I could not be with him
Mhm.
because he had to stay in the hospital because of the strength of the chemo was really, potent. So they had to keep
Mhm.
him in order for him to flush it first before he could leave. And it was probably about a total of maybe 20 days where, he would go in and then he would come out and go in. But during that time, I had to figure out how to deal with all of the anxiety and the emotions as
Right.
a caregiver. And it was like people always say that caregiving is a noble thing. Absolutely, it is. But it comes with a set of emotions and a lot of
Yeah.
uh, energy that people don't realize until you're in that place. And I had to figure out how to move my way through it. I always say that, and I know this is something that people say you're not supposed to you know cherish man, but I feel like my husband kind of saved my life because he actually helped me find me through the process of going through his cancer. I
Mm.
feel like what he did or what he went through was a gift to myself, and it actually opened my eyes to a new way of seeing life. And the reason why I say that is because through that, one of the modalities that I did was meditation. I was
Mm-hmm.
always a meditator, but when I first started meditating, it just made me happy. It made me look at life a little differently as far as the happiness that I understood now comes from myself and not from other people. But when this happened, when this experience of caregiving and cancer came into our journey of life, it was definitely one that held a lot of different emotions, negative emotions, uh, fear, because every time you hear cancer, that's the first thing you think about
Yeah.
is death, which we
Yeah.
probably change that a little bit.
Yes, we should. We should. We
Because
need to turn the definition around. Yeah.
exactly, because if we do hear people that pass away from it, but there are a lot of
Hmm.
people that we know in
Absolutely.
our families that have actually moved themselves through it, and it's gone.
Yes.
So, and are in remission. So, um, but my thought was death and all of the
Yeah.
negative things that we always think about. So I had to figure out how to move myself through all of the emotions that I was actually going through. So
Hmm.
I did a lot of modalities and like oh my gosh, I did a lot of different things. Meditation was definitely one that I really, really dove deep into, and it really opened my eyes to a different life, a different way of living, a different way of seeing this world, myself. And I really feel like he gave me, because as women, we are always so giving to everybody else.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
we really do not. And as a caregiver, we are so
Yeah.
giving to everybody else, but we have to learn how to love on ourselves, and not
Absolutely.
necessarily just in a way of going to get our nails done, our toes done, like physically, mentally, and spiritually and emotionally, from meditation, like doing different things to bring forth that own happiness within you. So that's how I got on this path. I always say he
Hmm.
was like my spiritual activator, and that's when he
Nice.
met me was the sound bowl thing that I did for Keisha's event. So
Yeah.
it all of those things kind of, from him going through what he went through, he showed me all of these different things. So I always
Wow.
say the reason why I feel like he was a gift and what he did and what he went through was a gift to myself, even though I never negate what he went through. But just
Hmm.
on as far as my perspective, um, he shifted me, and I always say if it was not for what he went through, I would not
Hmm.
do. I would not be thinking about the caregiving emotional reset part that I'm trying to help with. I wouldn't have even picked up a sound bowl at all.
Yeah.
I would have probably still been a meditator, but finding different ways to find my own happiness throughout the experiences of life, and being able to move on and understand that life is lifing, like I always say.
Yes.
um
Yes. Yes.
even understanding the spiritual part of death, in or the transition, I like to call it the transition, but just really understanding things differently was definitely what brought this person that you see before you.
I love it.
And yeah, that was definitely how I started on this journey of caregiving, like helping caregivers, being that advocate for them and trying to help them out, and also anybody like that's going through any type of traumatic experience in their lives, just trying to figure out how to shift that, and
Yes.
really understanding that it's, people always say your thoughts create your reality, but I do feel like your thoughts create your reality in some ways, but thoughts create your emotions, which in turn
Hmm.
reality. So
Absolutely.
I feel like if you are harboring a lot of negative emotions and you're holding it in, like we always do, we suppress these
Yeah.
things. When we start to suppress them, I feel like they come out physically. They're screaming to come out, like fear and worry and anxiety. And another reason why I kind of got on this journey was because for me, like most people carry their anxiety in their stomach or somewhere,
Hmm.
but me, I carried it in my chest. So when
Wow.
my husband was going through, I also had to wear a heart monitor because my blood pressure was
Hmm.
going up and down. So that was these emotions trying to scream out, like they're
Yeah.
screaming out to get to be released. And I had to find ways in which to release those emotions. So this is why I am on this journey that I am.
I love it. There was so much there,
Oh,
and I know it's going to help people, so I want to break it down. So this is you've had this third time around as being a caregiver. What is it about you? And I get it. I get it. We always say that women, like we think that every woman is innately a caregiver.
Right.
I think we have those characteristics inside of us, but I also think it's the person.
Mhm.
So what do you think, Nicole, is so specific about you that you rise to the you know not like you beating down the doors like let me do it but what do you think it is about you that makes you a great caregiver?
My well, I would say number one is my empathy. I would think,
Mhm.
because you have to have that, and then my understanding that this is my purpose.
Mm.
Even though people do not want, like I always say, nobody wants these journeys. We're voluntold.
Yes.
This is something that we
I
have to
like that.
do. So
Voluntold,
yes,
yes.
and even I had to kind of change the perspective of, you know, my husband don't want he didn't want to go through cancer. Like that's not something that he was like, I'm
He
gonna go through
picked,
cancer
yeah.
just to like make Nicole do that.
Uh-huh,
It was
uh-huh.
it was I feel like for me it was intricately divine timing.
Mm,
It was purposeful. I do believe that there are things in our life that you can either decide to let it rule you, or you can
yeah.
decide to figure out how to find the lesson in it. And I think that's what this was about. Like, I feel like the first time with my grandmother, it was just kind of something that we went through. You're thinking like an older person, they're going to go through different things,
Mm-hmm.
be there for them. With our daughter, I wasn't sure how to perceive it, because it's something that like 1 in 100,000 people get. So
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really know a lot about it, and she was still like doing well in school. She was still moving, so it was like it wasn't a lot that I had to do, but stay in hospitals, and she was able to
Yeah.
talk for herself, and I could communicate and different things like that. But it was more about having that support for her.
Yeah.
And that, that mental stability that me and her can talk, and she can talk to her dad, and we both like, it was both of us together that were actually tackling what she was going through. And the same thing with my grandmother. It was me and my husband and my grandfather. So it was like a tackle. But this one, this one was the whole journey of the caregiving aspect, and it was
Mm,
a lot of things. So I feel like this particular one was actually intricately placed into my life for the purpose of understanding it and the evolution of knowing that this was my purpose, to actually be an example for other caregivers, to actually help them
mm,
on their journey. So I really feel like some of the things that happen in our lives, even when it's death, any type of pain and suffering, there's a small lesson in it that if we are open to seeing the small
yeah.
lesson, we can actually understand that it's here for us for a reason, for growth, for helping someone else move through that same journey, like if they go through it in a later date. Like, I know that one statistic that I always talk about is in 2021, AARP was basically saying that there was 53 million caregivers in the United States. Now
Mm-hmm.
that's just in the United States. But the thing that really got me was 30% of caregivers die before their loved ones. And to me, that was a huge percent,
Yeah.
to where I really understood that, okay, I have to get past the fear, because I was definitely fearful of public speaking. If anybody knows me, when I was younger, I was very timid, very quiet, very I just watched a lot. I had friends, like people that knew me. They knew I was a different person. But if you did not know me, just like probably when we met, I was probably
Yes.
very, very like I was,
So when we met, you have this appearance of this outgoing person, but your actions don't line up with your appearance.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
when we met, it was just like, oh, like I'm gonna go over and talk to her because she looks like somebody who's, who's gonna talk it back. And then you went into like this shy mode, and I was like,
Yeah.
no, come here. I need you to record this video. Like, what did you like about my presentation? Like,
Right.
come on, like what are you doing? Like, it was just like you had this appearance of really being this social butterfly,
Yeah.
but yet you were very, very reserved. So
Yeah.
I totally get what it is that you're saying.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, we're not having that.
Yeah.
Like, no, come on. Like, we're going to do this interview. We're going to do this. It's like you need to get out there
Yes. Yes.
because there is such a gifting on you. There is such uniqueness about you, and there's so much power that people can learn from.
Yeah.
You can't be quiet.
Yeah.
I get it. That's the way we grow up. We're very reserved. But I believe in this season, people need us to come forward. And that is one of the reasons why I'm super excited that you said yes. I was surprised that you said yes, but I was excited that you said yes. And I was like, oh, she's going to do this. She's not hesitating.
Yeah.
She's not, going to talk herself out of this. She is actually going to show up.
And
And I believe, like you said, everything is divine because people need to hear this.
yeah.
There are so many caregivers,
Hmm.
so many caregivers out there. And I'm a registered nurse by profession. And so I deal a lot with caregivers. I see a lot of caregivers.
Yeah.
And you're absolutely correct in stating that oftentimes it's the caregiver who ends up needing the help.
Yes.
It's the caregiver, the person that is standing, online getting the prescriptions filled. It's the caregiver who is, at the forefront of everything,
Yes.
is the one who starts going through these little physical ailments, and oftentimes they end up succumbing to their stressors
Yes. Yes.
rather than the actual person who they are providing care for.
You
So
know,
I love all that you just said. Yes, go ahead.
well, I was going to say one question. Like, when I say I was a heavy meditator, and it was like I used to get a definitely a lot of downloads. And one of the questions that I used to always ask, like, was who takes care of the caregiver? Like, that was a
Mhm.
question that I always, and people would say, the person, you would take care of yourself and blah, 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 blah. But I wanted to dig a little deeper. And when I
Yeah.
started to dig a little deeper, I realized that what came to me was that the person who takes care of the caregiver is actually the person going through the illness. And
Mm.
I say that because I feel like my husband gifted me with more confidence, because
Mhm.
now I'm talking, I'm actually able to move through that fear of being able to speak about my story, his story, and actually helping people. So I have more confidence. You got more empathy. You got more communication, because now you have to talk to doctors, you have
Yeah.
to get out there. Now you also getting more, they're gifting you with more love for self, because now you have to learn how to push yourself through all of these emotions that you're going through in order for
Mhm.
you to give that love to that person, because as they say, you cannot pour from an empty cup. And I always
Mhm.
feel like you have to find ways in which to love on yourself. And that was a big, big part for me. It was so many different things that I feel like our loved ones gifts us. And in turn, we also gift them with better care, actually helping them release the worry of, if something's going wrong, or if you give them the ability to make a choice of getting better, or if they want to transition. Like,
Yeah.
because we always talk about getting better, but I also want to change the narrative around the transition. Like, we look at the transition and it is a deep, deep rooted pain and suffering. But we have to also understand, because the Bible always says we're supposed to rejoice when somebody transitions, and we cry when somebody comes in. So, if you think about all the things that we are giving each other, I always say this is a co-creative experience, that you
Mm-hmm.
learn so much from each other. You're gifting each other with so many different things. And that, to me, solidified that the caregiver is really being energetically and emotionally, because you have to figure out how to go through these things. So you're
Mm-hmm.
growing, you're evolving into who you are here to be. And it's just so much that you can take from this journey and this experience that people, as far as the caregiver, does not realize. Like, we're looking, well, it was one meditation I just want to share this that I had,
Mm-hmm.
which was, and my meditation used to get really, really deep, because I think when you're going through something, you're trying to process it. Like, they used to get so deep where I would just get these downloads of answers like right away. And one of the things was like, I had resentment towards my husband. And my first thing was to bust out crying. And I'm like, how can I have resentment towards him when he's going through what he was going through? But it was like, it's not necessarily to him, it's to the adversity that we're going through at the time, because me and my husband been together for 25 years. So it's like, at that time
Wow.
we were just getting to a point where our kids were older, we could go out, we could do all these different things,
Yeah.
like the
Y'all can be grown
travel.
now.
Yeah, we could be grown now. Yeah. So and we had just got back from Florida with another couple, like one of our really, really, really good friends. And then that kind of hit, and it was just like boom, like it just stopped everything. And I feel like that just really changed the trajectory of what was going on in our lives. So I'm thinking, how can somebody have resentment? But it was just one of those things where we do not realize those deep, deep rooted issues, or deep, deep rooted emotions that are
Yes.
inside of us, that we just need to learn how to release. And that's when I started to really tap into the sound bowls, the meditation. I did things for myself, like another thing was like video journaling. I have so many
Mm.
videos, like when my husband was gone, where I would just cry and let it out. And it was just for my own personal
Yeah.
usage. But it was like those type of things. And I found other things to do, like physical things, because it's not only about the emotions, it's also about physical. So I'm an avid softball player. I love softball. I hadn't played in a long time, and something just said, let me do something that's going to make me feel good. So I went and bought a
Mm.
ball. I went and bought a bat. I went and bought a T-ball stand, and I went in my backyard and I just would hit. And that's more like getting out the anger, because you
Yeah.
need that too. Like going to the gym, boxing, like those things help
Yeah.
get the anger out of your body. And then I also did like things that made me happy, like roller skating. I would roller skate up and down in my in my house. I know my daughters
Wow.
probably like, what is going on with my mother? But these were things that were making me feel a little better and just release.
Yeah.
What else I did? I would go outside, just sit on the grass. One other thing that we did, and I know that some people cannot do these type of things, but dogs. We got a dog throughout all of that, and my oldest daughter had been asking for a dog for years. And we always think these things are coincidental, but it was purpose. I feel like our dog coming in was definitely a moment where we would watch her and just laugh, like all four of us. It was like my our two daughters, my husband, when he would come from chemo, he was there, and we would just play with the dog, and it just brought a different dynamic into the house.
Yeah.
Even though you still have like those things that you have to do for the dog, like taking them out and all that, but it was just
Mm-hmm.
great to have another presence that we all had to take care of and love on, and just watch and see the funny things that she used to do as a puppy. And so it was so many things that really helped me dive a little
I
deeper
love that.
and release, it, because it's really about emotional release. It's about releasing those negative emotions that we have inside, even just not even on the caregiving aspect, just different things that we go through, that bring suffering and pain and hurt,
Mm-hmm.
that we just really have to tap into it, really embrace it, dissect it, and just see how we can just help release those type of things, because it does create the reality. Like, you can tell when somebody's angry that they're going through
Yeah.
something, some turmoil that's going on.
Yeah.
and you can see somebody's spirit when they're happy. You know the difference,
Absolutely.
tell on people's faces, what
Yeah.
they are going through sometimes. But sometimes people are good at hiding it too. So
And I think as caregivers, a lot of times we put on that happy face. So we try not to let our loved ones know that we're stressed, that we're burdened, that we're hurting, that we are dealing with all of these emotions. And like you said, they can pick that up. Whether you got a fake smile on your face, like they still can pick up that
yeah,
energy. It's something about your touch. It's something about the gestures that you're doing, whether you have to feed them or bathe them, they can feel it. So I love and like I said, you're just hitting it. You're just hitting home runs with all
yeah,
of this. No baseball analogy intended, right? But you are literally hitting this out the park because you're touching into so many different aspects of caregiving. And one of the things that I was going to ask you was about the lessons. Like, what lessons did you learn about you
mm,
during this caregiving role? And you said that it's giving you more confidence,
yeah,
it's giving you permission to show up and be exactly who it is that you are. You even shared with us some of the things that you did. Right. So I'm hoping that the people who are watching will be able to say, oh, I like baseball, or I like softball. I like
boxing,
dogs, or whatever it
yeah,
is,
yeah,
boxing, like to now be able to relate, to say to themselves,
yeah,
when was the last time that they actually did something for themselves?
yeah,
And then you hit another home run where you answer the age old question that says, who cares for the caregiver?
yeah, yeah,
And you put a unique spin to it, and you said it's actually the person that's going through the struggles.
yeah,
So I loved how you have a different outlook, and that does, I'm just going to say it here, that comes from the meditation, that
yeah,
comes from the mindfulness,
yeah,
that comes from quieting you down
yes,
and hearing what God is saying, hearing what it is that your spirit is
absolutely,
saying to you,
absolutely,
right? But I
absolutely.
think we're so scared of the stillness.
Come on,
We're
come on,
so
come
scared
on.
of the silence,
Absolutely,
right?
absolutely.
Because it's in the silence, and oh my gosh, it was just so much. I'm like, it's in the silence that you actually can hear things that you didn't want to hear.
Yes,
Like, you heard that you were angry with your husband.
yes, yes. You know
Now we
something else?
know it's not flesh, when we know it's not him per se, but
Absolutely.
we still back away from it. Like, no, I don't hate him. I'm not angry with him.
Hmm.
So go ahead. You had a take
Well,
you
I
want
was
to
going
put
to
in
say,
there.
it was one time I had this like dream, or
Mhm,
and it was basically like my husband was going to pass away. So
mhm,
after that, I became fearful of what was happening to him, and I would kind of go on, and like I say, my husband was like the best person for me to talk to, even when it was about him. It was so weird. But the thing is that I had what he noticed. He noticed that he was like, he sat me down. He was like, I noticed that you've been different, distant. Because I told him about the dream, and he was like, I noticed that you have been distant. So you have to come back, like feel me, touch me. He was like, I'm
mhm,
present.
mhm.
I'm present. So it's like all of these things that you have to, that we don't even realize that we're doing. Like
No,
I was
no.
distancing myself from him. And I was like, because in my mind, I'm like, he might go away. So I have to protect myself.
Mhm,
And I'm sure
mhm.
a lot of caregivers are feeling like they have to protect themselves from, what may happen. And you're distancing yourself from somebody who loves you and you love them, not intentionally or subconsciously doing it, but or consciously doing it, but subconsciously in your mind, you're in the back of
Yeah.
your head, you're telling yourself, let me protect myself because this person may not be here. But we have to
Mhm,
remember to be in the present. And matter of fact, it was crazy because, like I said, my cousin who just passed away, um, it triggered that back into,
mhm.
and it was like me and my husband were sitting downstairs. He came downstairs and we were talking about, what was happening. And this was just yesterday. And he came to me again and he said, how many times did you put yourself in your cousin's wife's shoes? And I was like, I just
Wow.
literally, I bust out crying. And he was like, I know you.
Hmm.
And he took my hand again and he said, look, I am present. I am here. Because my cousin's death just triggered all of that back into my mind. And,
Hmm.
you're going to get the healing, but sometimes that stuff may pop back up in your mind,
Yeah.
and you have to go back and and I had to actually go back into meditation to try to move that energy that I was feeling, that the future is something that we cannot, I had to understand the future is something that we cannot, it's not promised to anybody, first and foremost.
Yeah.
And the past is something that's happened in the past, but the present is where you need to be. And he kind of brought me back again to understanding that I'm here. I'm present. Like, don't disappear on me again. So I
Yeah.
don't know. I just wanted to say that to somebody, because I'm sure
Yes.
as a caregiver and as watching someone either maybe deteriorate or going through what they're going through, sometimes we do get those things in our mind that this person may not be here tomorrow, today or tomorrow. But if you stay in the
Hmm.
present, just tap that person and understand that right now they are really still here, you know?
Yeah.
But
And
I,
and we often we project our feelings, our experiences, our emotions onto someone else. Like your husband, called out. He says, how many times have you now put yourself in that wife's shoes?
yeah,
Right? Because you've experienced what you've experienced, and now your mind is just going all the way, left field. And it's like, wait a second, come back.
yeah,
So how many times has, we've seen someone, or there's a funeral, right?
yep,
And then we're sitting in the funeral thinking about what could have been,
yes,
or, thinking about, when you had to go through your own personal experiences with that. So being in the present says, no, 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 it's no, like you're not in their shoes.
yeah, yeah,
Even though it might have those remnants, it might even smell a little bit the same, but you are not in those shoes. That moment is their moment. That's not your moment. Like you need to come back to your moment. Stop running and trying to, because unfortunately, like innately, we do that.
yeah,
We run to the tragedy because it's almost like a defense mechanism.
yeah,
It's like,
exactly.
if because we feel like we can control it. If we run to it, we feel like we can control it, but
Hmm.
we don't have control. And as human beings, we don't like not having control. But what we do have control is of our present
Yeah,
moment.
absolutely.
So
Yeah.
I love that. Nicole, if you had to give some words of encouragement, and you've been doing that, but there's a caregiver who's watching
Mhm.
and they're feeling really, really burnt out. So I'm gonna give you a twofold question,
Okay.
right? So I want you to talk to the person who's watching, who's a caregiver, who's feeling really, really burned out. And then I want you to talk to, and these might be the same people.
Okay.
I want you to talk to the caregiver who feels really, really guilty.
Okay.
They feel guilty either because maybe they and I'm going to try to be as gentle as I possible saying this,
Hmm.
but those that rage, those inner feelings, they may have projected it on the person who they are supposed to be providing care for. Now, whether the person is still here, if they've gotten better or not, what would you say to those caregivers who are burnt out and those who are feeling guilty, who are ridden with guilt?
I guess the first thing that came to me was that the best relationship, and I don't know why this popped in my head, is the one between you and you. So when
Mhm.
you are able to really get in tune with yourself and understand that this is what I had to understand, what this is, an experience, a co-creative experience. It's not just necessarily about the person, but it's also about the caregiver. When you can kind of understand that both of you are going through this for growth and for evolution, that's where I felt like my caregiving experiences were. But I would say one other thing would be set those boundaries. Like that's another
Mm.
thing that I feel like the person going through is gifting you, because now you have to learn how to set those boundaries, how to set boundaries with family members, because sometimes we have brothers and sisters or people around us that don't really want to help. They got this going on, they got that going on, but you have to learn how to use your throat chakra and be
Yes.
able to express yourself. Like, to me, that's what I feel like the best relationship is the one between you and you. And when you are on the same accord with who you are, as the person in the mirror and the person, the physical person, I feel like it becomes understandable, or it becomes
Mhm.
somewhat easier, to kind of get through it or go through it. And then also just have that empathy, not just necessarily for that person, but for yourself. Give yourself, this is it right here, give yourself some grace, because
Yes.
we are all going through things. We are all, everybody. This is what this world is about. It's about, to me, it's about the experiences that we are learning lessons from, so that we can actually take those lessons. Like, say for instance, if my cousin or my best friend goes through the same thing, I can be there to prepare and to help her through that. But that is it. Give yourself some grace. I understand all of the emotions of guilt, of fear, of
Mm.
anxiety, of resentment, of burnout. I mean, all of those things is about you giving yourself some grace, and just taking a deep breath. Just taking like 3 deep breaths, and just really allowing yourself to forgive yourself. Because, to be
Yes.
honest, like, even though we think about these emotions and we think about the anger, that we don't really want to do this, but you have to have an open mind of understanding that that person that you're helping, they don't want to go through that anymore, that you don't want to go through.
Mhm.
Like,
Mhm.
both sides is really voluntold
Yeah.
to be able to
Yeah.
make these
Yeah.
experiences. But when you understand that, they like, if you have a person that, I guess, gives you anger, or yells at you, or different things like that, they are also going through the same
Mhm.
things, even more. No, I'm not even going to say more. We're all going through
Right.
things differently, and they're basically expressing their anger that's inside of them onto you.
Yeah.
And it's just really about forgiveness, and not necessarily always forgiveness of that person, but forgiveness of yourself. um, it's always trying to stay in the best, I would say, the best relationship between you and you. Like, if you do
Mhm.
that and give yourself that grace, I really feel like giving yourself that grace is the biggest thing. um
Yeah.
and also, some people can't act, they can't get help. Sometimes you're doing it by yourself.
Yeah.
But just, like, just trying to at least take a little time for yourself, because there were, just me being transparent, there were
Mhm.
times where, because he was going through what he was going through and I'm trying to help him, I didn't take that bath that I was supposed to take. And this is just me
Yeah.
being honest.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
like,
It
have,
happens.
yeah, have a moment to just comb my
Yeah.
hair, anything like
Mm.
that. So my thing would be to take that time for you to make sure that your cup is filled. Give
Yeah.
yourself that grace. And then, as you are understanding that your cup is filled, then you have that understanding that you can pour more into that person. Because when
Mhm.
your cup is empty, that's when all the anger and the resentment
Yep.
and the burnout and all those things come into play. But once you start to say, okay, I'm going to get up, maybe they might sleep until 7. I'm going to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, and I'm going to do this. I'm going to drink a nice cup of coffee.
Yeah.
I'm going to
Yeah.
my day on a good note for myself. I'm going to take 10-15 minutes to meditate, because that actually helped me, focus my mind on the fact that we are here, we're present, um, and that you make your own happiness. Other people cannot create that for you. Um,
Mhm.
just all of those things to me, just setting that time for yourself in the morning. If that person is like a sleeper and they don't get up until like, I don't know, 7 a.m. or 8, just get up a little early and just make sure that you are, if you have to take a hot tub bath, you know different things like that that can really,
Yeah.
or a walk, or just taking that time for yourself to tap into you through meditation, yoga. There's all kinds of stuff on YouTube that you can kind of, therapy is another thing, journaling,
Yes. Yes.
all of those things that we have at the palm of our hands. But if, some people are like, oh, I can't ask for help. And that to me solidifies that your throat chakra is open. I mean, closed.
Mm.
Because if your throat chakra is open, you're going to be able to express yourself. And if it's balanced, you're going to be able to express yourself in a communicative way where people can understand you, and understand
Mhm.
that you need help. So sometimes I feel like when we are not vocal about the help that we need, that also creates anger,
And
frustration,
resentment. Yeah.
and all
Mm-hmm.
of different things. So when that's why I always go back to the relationship between you and you, like that that person is really gifting you that deep relationship with you and you, because if you don't tap into who you are, I feel like the resentment and the anger just builds and builds and builds, and that's where that 30% comes in to me.
Yeah.
So great.
Absolutely.
Grace is big in the relationship between you and you. That mirror, who you see in that mirror, talk to her, talk to him.
Yeah.
Let know, like, hey, this is what's going on inside of me. Like, we need to figure
Yeah.
this out. But I do feel like the person that you're caring for is the one that's making all of these things, like the growth that's in you, the communication, the love, the happiness, all of those things that we want are here, and they're actually pushing us to bring all of that stuff out, all of the negative emotions out, but they're also bringing in a more whole, a more evolved, a more understanding, a more empathetic person that is inside of us. So, that's just me. I don't know. That's how I feel about it anyway.
I love it. I love it. And that was just so good. And I really hope that the caregivers who found a moment in time to sit and to listen to this, I hope that it sets them free. In fact, I know that it will set them free. The grace and building that relationship with yourself right there, that is worth its weight in gold. That right there, you are able to now look at your role as a caregiver differently. And I loved the co-creators.
Yes.
So it's not just their experience, it's not just your experience, it's what we're experiencing at the same time. And
Absolutely.
not one is up higher than the other. Everyone's opinions, plight is unique to them,
Yep.
and it's a lesson that we all need to learn when we are faced with having to be caregivers. And whether you're dealing with someone who is sick, or you're just being a caregiver to your elderly parents or your children, right? That's, or if that's even your job, right? Because I have a lot of people who are caregivers, whether they're nurses, home health aides, health coaches, whatever role that they play in the health industry, they are still those caregivers. And a lot of times, especially when that's your job, the job focuses on the patient.
Yep.
You got to do this for the patient. You got to do this for the patient. And it's all about the patient. It's all about the patient. You have to be the one to say, okay, y'all can focus on the patient, but the relationship that I'm going to put the highest priority is that relationship with myself. So
Absolutely.
that now I can go in and I could happily do the things that you need me to do for the patient, because I am well taken care of. Because a lot of times that's where that resentment comes in. It's like, oh, that person's got someone waiting on them hand and foot, turning and repositioning, painting toenails and doing all these caring things. Where is the care for me?
Yep.
And if you don't care for yourself, it's hard for you to attract anyone who's going to want to bring that same type of care, that same type of energy into your life. So I love it. I love it. I love it. Thank you so much, Nicole, for being here. But before I let you go, one, we got to talk about this book, Caregiving. Come on, tell us a little bit about this book. and where it's available and what else you've got going on that you want the people to know about before you leave.
Well, the book, the book was definitely some the ways that I was feeling. If you ever look at the cover of
Yeah,
the book, it's talking about all of those emotions, resentment, anxiety, all of those different things. And I just felt like I know a lot of other caregivers feel that way, but they might not say it because
yeah, love
they
it.
don't want that, like you said, that guilt of feeling like they're not there for that person. But
Mm-hmm.
um, that was the point of the title. It's like, F this, like, F this, like, but also
Yeah,
there is a subtitle to it, which is how to find the a practical approach of finding the joy in your journey. So it's like, it's your feelings, but it's also a way
yeah,
of trying to find the joy in your journey,
I
or
love it.
experience that you're going through. So that is why I titled it that way. Um, it was just a real true feeling for me.
Yeah,
Not directly at my husband, just the journey itself, because I don't want nobody to misconstrue that part, but it was just really about the journey. And as far as some of the things that I'm doing, like I am starting to do some caregiving roundtables where I just want people to feel like, I want caregivers to feel like they're being heard. So I do like
yes.
one-on-one be heard sessions as well. All this stuff, actually, I have a link on my Instagram as well that you can tap into to kind of do a complimentary be heard session with me. So I'm trying to do the caregivers um, roundtables just to kind of give other caregivers that notion that we're all here together and we're all
I
here to
love it.
help one another through our stories, through our lessons, how we're learning from each other, how we can love on each other, how we can truly embrace the journey, because some of us, we want that resistance of the journey, but if you embrace it and you dive a little deeper into it, you can understand it. Another thing that I like to do, I do sound bowls every the first Saturday of every month. I have those on Eventbrite. They're also on
Okay.
Instagram on my little thing. But that is just one of the modalities that I use to kind of help myself heal. So I actually do it for a community of people that come out, and it's free. I just kind of give my time because people are like, "Why are you making this free every month?" Well, my thing is, I'm pouring into them, and people don't realize they're pouring into me. And they're pouring
Yeah.
into me in a different way of helping me be more knowledgeable of my subject and being able to speak and talk to it. Being able
Mm-hmm.
to talk in public again, like speak in public is another different thing. I mean, there's so many different things that I'm getting from this and that money cannot really buy. Like, I feel like
That's right.
money can't buy your experiences. Money can't really buy, those characteristics that you're looking, to grow into, which mine is a public speaking person. So it's just like they are gifting me with those things just as well as I'm helping them, uh, assisting them with their healing, because I don't feel like I can heal anybody. It's just an assist. They have to want it. They have to heal themselves.
Absolutely.
So
I
that's
love
what
it.
I'm doing. I also was I'm actually trying to form now, meditation for teachers, because I do a caregiver aspect, but I also do other things as well. Caregiving, I mean, meditation for teachers is something that I really feel like I want to pour into teachers, because I know they're going through a lot,
Oh,
especially,
yes.
yes, with everything that's
Oh,
going.
yes.
So that's something that I'm doing, and I'm also doing my other thing that I'm heading up now that I have out there on Eventbrite is I'm doing something different, and it's called Self Love Mood Board Party with a Twist.
Ooh,
We're going over the emotions that's been holding us down, the negative emotions that's been holding us down for a while, and trying to figure out how to move into the emotions that we want, the happiness, the wealth, the different,
I love it.
so a lot of people do mood boards is about pictures. Well, mine is going to be about the emotional part, like words instead of pictures. It's words that we're going to go through that people are going to be able to pick, and different things that I'm actually going to do. Like, I like this thing called wildfire, where you kind of, and now this is something that I'm just brainstorming now that I heard the other,
Yeah.
like, that would be a great thing to kind of write letters to self or write letters to people that you feel so much um uh I guess what's the word, resistance around that fear, that anger, writing them letters and just being able to rip them up or burn them.
Release it. I love it. I
Right.
love it.
So those are some of the things, and then I'll also incorporate it in that is this thing called, I don't want to give away all my secrets, but just like jars that you pour water into, like how you feel, how much do you love yourself, how much do you
Mm,
how confident are you, and you pour water into the jars to see where you feel that you are, and then we will talk about all of those different things of why don't you feel confident, what is holding you back from feeling that confidence inside of
I love
yourself,
it.
because that's something that I've wrestled with for a long time. But or why are you angry, like why do you not feel like, or why don't you feel like you love yourself fully, like there may be a self-love jar, you see how
I
far
love it.
for your water, and just talk about those type of things. So I'm always trying to do different things. I also
Yes.
have like a 7-week course that I'm putting together for caregivers as well, to kind of help them learn how to reset. I'm trying to just work through how I want to do it, like just with the caregiving roundtable. I'm trying to figure out, do I want to do it online, or if I want to make it actually a physical in person type thing. Same thing with the incubator that I kind of want to do. Do I want to do that live or in person? I really think, as far as the caregiving ones, I think it's best to have those in person, because you're able to get the feeling and the energy in the room from just,
Absolutely.
I kind of answered my own question actually.
And
So
sometimes that's what happens when you do start to verbally
yes.
express yourself, and sometimes it doesn't have to be in front of an audience. It is just about you having this thought provoking conversation. So, yes, you were able to answer your own question. Listen, everyone, Nicole is doing some amazing, amazing things. We've got her social media handles, we've got her website. Make certain you stay connected with her. You're going to look in the description box. You're going to be able to click on the link. You're going to go get that book. You're going to really be able to stay connected. And that is one of the reasons why we bring such amazing people to the Black Girl Encourage Her, is so that you now start to be able to build your connections. So it's not just about who Shaniqua knows. You now get to know these people and can start building your relationship with these amazing individuals who are doing such fantastic things in the community. Nicole, blessings on blessings on
Yeah.
blessings to you, my sister.
That,
Thank you again for doing, what you're doing.
yes.
It's not easy, but you have committed to doing what you are doing. And we pray that you just keep doing it. So until next time, everyone, Nicole, you hang out for me, everyone. We are going to wrap this up. I am just so excited. Please make certain that you check out Nicole and you follow her on all of the social media platforms. You make certain that you are staying connected. You're going to her Eventbrite and you are learning and fellowshipping in these areas, because we have to make certain that we stay connected and we stay encouraged. So to each and every one of you, I thank you so much for tuning in to the Black Girl Encourage Her this week. Make certain you subscribe and you share this message out, because I know you know loads of caregivers who need to be set free. So till next time, you all stay blessed, and I'll see you again on the next episode. Take care.